We just bought a half beef. Just came in. You're about to butcher it up. You get first pick. What is Chef Tyler picking first?
I'm going rib primal. Duh.
Going rib section.
Come on.
Of course.
The number one pick.
Right? The quarterback right there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so, because I'm a ribeye dude,
Yep.
that is my all-time favorite, although people make fun of me because of the tenderloins and the whatevers, but if I had to pick a steak, it was going to be a ribeye.
So what comes into that primal? Why'd you pick it?
Well, because you get you can yank the dino ribs out of there, you can get tomahawk
Yep.
steaks out of there, of course, all the ribeye steaks out of there. You got flanking ribs out of there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get your Korean barbecue, kind of rolling down into the short rib area.
Okay.
But for those of us who are the steak, I want a steak,
Yeah.
you're going to get a ribeye.
And how many of those are you going to get?
There is 7, depending on where you get your meat cut, it's 7 or 8 bone
Okay.
center rib primal.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? So ours are from Preservation and Pure Country are 7 bones.
Okay.
So in those 7 bones, the shapes move, kind of like dissipate as the bone goes through the body. So you only get really 3 or 4 true tomahawk steaks
Yeah.
out of
Okay.
there for the drama bone. That's everybody's
Yeah.
bringing to the barbecue and
Yeah.
swinging it around like
That's what we like, man.
they show up to the party. Like, yeah.
So, okay, so three tomahawks out of that. Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's cool. And then you're probably cutting the rest off the bone, maybe.
Yeah, probably. And I would cut. So when you cut the tomahawks, they're around. You cut right down the center of the bone, and those are about 3.5 pounds a piece.
Okay.
So then when you take the bones off the other end, more towards the sirloin or the New York side of the ribeye, then you start to portion those steaks out. And I usually portion those out into a pound.
Okay.
About 16 ounces.
Okay.
So then I get 3 or 4 really nice bone-in ribeyes, and then I take the bones off. And those are technically back ribs. That
Yep.
I try to put in the case all the time, but
know, man.
nobody knows how the gems.
You got to call them pork or beef baby backs. right?
That's what
beef
we should
baby
call
backs.
beef
That's-
baby backs.
that's what
That
you gotta call
might
'em.
do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you got all the fatty ends on those bones where you're gonna cut those into dino ribs, the 1, 2, 3A, or flankins if you're
Yeah.
familiar. It's cut across the other way, so there's the 3 or 4 little bones
Oh, I
in
love
the
flankins.
fatty, short ribby looking meat.
Yeah.
It's fucking
So
delicious. They're bonkers good.
So that rib primal, man, you're getting a ton of good juicy steaks out of that rib primal. That's obviously why it's the number one pick. It's probably going to be the number one pick for most people. So good job on
It's
that.
fun.
Man.
It's fun to break
Good
down.
selections.
too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So I get picks 2 and 3. So
This will be interesting.
right. So I'm picking the chuck, and I would never have done that probably before I met you guys because first of all I didn't know what was in the chuck.
I'm glad you said that. I was going to say that how far you've come as a meat connoisseur since we started this
an elite meat
adventure.
as
An
the TikTok
meat
would say.
adventure.
So the chuck, comes right from that shoulder. It's before the ribeye, and so I let first of all we could take that whole chuck roll, and I would probably have you take the zabuton off, of course, cut into those zabuton steaks because those are the best things that we sell.
Everybody's
in the
favorite.
Case. That's just the best. Of course, the Delmonicos, the mini ribeyes, because then it starts with the Delmonico here, and then it goes into the ribeye. So it's right before the ribeye starts. So I'm taking those Delmonicos.
You only really get 3, maybe 4
Okay.
12-ounce steaks out of there.
Yeah.
To be
Oh, they're so
honest.
good, though.
Oh, yeah, delicious.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good. So what else? We got the chuck eye. So I'll probably give that to my wife, and she would roast it because she likes to roast meat.
Roast,
You
you
know.
could stew it, cube
Oh yeah,
it.
that's great stew meat. A lot of people ask for
Great
that stew
stew
meat,
meat.
man. I don't. Yeah, we gotta do that. The flat iron. I just took home some Wagyu flat irons.
Flatrion.
The Flatrion. So I get that out of the shoulder, the chuck.
Second most tender cut on the animal.
Oh man, and I'm just grilling that.
Straight up.
I'm just grilling that, and like we talk about, my wife actually likes that steak because I grill it to about medium well for her, and
Yes.
it's still tender, and that's
Little
awesome.
known fact of the Flatrion, not only is it the second most tender cut, but it's also that cut that you have people in your family that want a mid-well steak or a well-done steak.
It's perfect.
God fucking forbid.
It's
But
perfect.
it's still going to stay tender,
Yeah.
and you don't demolish the shit out of it. It's still
Yeah.
good. It's
I love
juicy.
It's
Yeah.
so flavorful. Oh,
So good.
I got the Terrace Major. So that's the petite filet.
Mhm.
I cooked some of those up a few months ago, just on the grill, and just
So
with the
yummy.
bovine or salt pepper. God, they're so meaty. They are minerally. You kind of talked about that. How
I
you
call
get
it
that,
the
that beefy
if,
minerally.
like when you were a little kid and you fell off your handlebar of your bike and bumped your lip. You just get that little
Yeah.
teeny tinge of blood.
Yeah,
That's how I consider the terrace flavor.
Man.
It's so good.
that's good. Sarah has a spirit that she pours that has that little blood.
Oh, yeah?
flavor. Yeah, it's freaking crazy, man. We
Sick.
gotta bring her back on this thing.
Is that why she has vampire teeth?
And then, I put the ranch steaks in the chuck as well.
Yep, that's
um,
Charlie's favorite.
I would, I don't eat the ranch steaks unless they're Wagyu. Call me
Wagyu,
an
baby.
elitist, but, they're your everyday steak. They'd be great to just kind of grill up and maybe put on a salad or something like that. You could do that. But the Wagyu ranch steaks, look
Oh,
crazy, man.
Bananas.
So that pretty much wraps up the chuck. You got the chuck short ribs I could do something with. I could,
Good. Those are
braise
nice,
that.
little English style cut.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. Those chuck short ribs. My wife loves those too. So for my pick now, first pick of the second round, I'm going with the loin. I'm going with that short loin. So right behind the ribeye, down the cow, where you get your New Yorks, you
Yup.
get your porterhouse, your T-bones. The tenderloin is in there as well. So I might think about cutting the porterhouse.
Yeah.
And you say you're a ribeye guy. I think I was a ribeye guy, but I think I've been kind of slowly moving to the New York.
Because it's meatier.
It's
It's
meatier.
a little bit more toothsome.
I think so. Sometimes I hate to say it. I think the ribeye can be almost like too thick and fatty. Like kill me, roast me, right? But I just love just a nice 3/4 inch thick New York.
It's delicious.
It's perfect, man.
It's
With the
delicious.
fat cap too.
Oh, of
I've
course.
got to have the fat cap. I
Yep,
love
yep,
fat
yep.
cap. But if I'm going to cut that porterhouse, what do I need? The tenderloin so the porterhouse is the New York and the tenderloin.
Yeah, and technically there's only 4. I think the tenderloin has to be 1.5 inch minimum.
1.25, yeah.
1.25 minimum
Yeah.
per cut. So
Yeah.
as that tenderloin kind of dissipates in its muscle size,
Yep.
that's when you lose it. So you got that. It's almost like the center cut, New York and tenderloin.
Yeah. So you're taking that bone and you're just
Yeah.
going right. You're
Yeah.
just going right,
Yeah.
not through it, but you're going right down next to it. And you've got your New York on one side and your little tenderloin on the other.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Beauties.
that sounds good. How do you cook that? It's gonna be hard.
You
right?
know, a lot of people if you go steak Florentina and in Italy, you always put the bone down on the grill first.
Uh-huh.
So with the theory is that you're heating the bone because those of us that cook bone on steaks, you know that the outside of the muscle is going to cook faster than where the bone is because the bone
Yeah.
is that dense. It's coming out of the fridge, so it's cold.
Yep. True that.
Right?
True that.
So you have to heat that bone technically as unless you want some rare bits
Yeah.
next to your mid rare bits or whatever.
So you're just going. So here's your
Yeah.
New York and your
You just
tenderloin.
set it on the grill
Really?
with them sticking up like that,
Really.
and you heat the bone and it kind of starts to warm everything sort of
That's cool.
together,
Okay.
and then you can flip
And
it
you
on.
kinda hit it?
Yep, get after it.
Get into that because really, you want to cook your tenderloin to 120, maybe 125.
Yeah.
In your New York, I'm going 125 to 130 on my New York,
Yeah.
probably.
So
Yeah.
you gotta be crafty with it.
Yeah.
Probably fool around with your grill and your hot spots and
Yeah.
moving it around and all that kind of goods. But
Okay. Okay.
the coolest thing for me for presentation wise is that when you do present it, you can slice everything off, lay the bone, and then slice the steak and put it right
Put it
next to
right
where
back.
it used to live.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Yep.
Yep. So I don't know. I'd probably do the porterhouse and the T-bones. But T-bone is just a porterhouse that has less of a fillet on there.
fillet, yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I probably would do that just because I want to cook them both together. I like that. I probably wouldn't have you pull out the tenderloin by itself. But yeah, the loin would definitely be my second pick. Moving down the animal, you're still getting some really nice tender cuts in there.
You still could actually pull a little bit of that chunk of the tenderloin out if you wanted to. If you wanted just to take
Like
the
one
porterhouses,
Okay.
and then you could take that rest of the tenderloin out, and then cut the New Yorks.
Okay.
So you'd have like a nice little, you know, probably pound and a half-y,
Ooh.
roasty.
Little roasty fillet.
Or you could dice it up and make Evan's all-time favorite steak bites.
Steak bites, steak
Yeah.
bites, dude. Nothing better, dude. Nothing
Steak
better.
bites.
All right, man. So that's